All right, good morning, karibu sana. It is the 26th day of February. Hii mwezi imeenda mbio sana. Only 2 days left to the end of February, meaning that it is only 302 days to Christmas.
Fred. Lakini, you know me, I think imeka sana. Ama nje Valentine's.
Maybe.
Because you know we've also spent a lot of money.
I'm so glad the Valentine's is behind us. We can talk about other things.
Of course, thank you so much for staying or for joining us. And to Kianzaisho, something was already playing in my mind. At this time, you're sleeping. It's not possible. My name is Anne Odide, and this is the Morning Cafe.
My name is Fred Indimudi. We'll take a look at the headlines this morning and a quick look at them. Very interesting. Offer ya Gachagua kwa Raila. Habari kuu pale kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo.
The STARS secret treaty, Raila and Ruto signed 2027 deal. We'll be looking into that.
On the Daily Nation, 61 billion Kenyan shillings. Iebc polls shocker. That's a budget for the Iebc between now and 2027.
Amazing. Heri wow. The Standard, pain of Haiti. That is the police officer who died.
Yes. People Daily have similar headline like that on the Star. They say Ruto Raila scheme to share power.
And the Business Daily, Kibaki era tycoon's company falls over 3.7 billion shillings KCB loan.
Wow. All right, so these are the local dailies. We'll be back, take a look at them in depth. And on State of the Nation, starting at 6:30 this morning, we'll have these following legislators. Duncan Mathenge Maina, MP Nyeri Town, Makali Molu, MP Kitui Central, and David Kiplagat, MP Soi constituency. Do stand by for that conversation later.
Later on, we'll be talking matters drug use among university students. Walisemekana wanatumia drugs sana, especially their women.
Yes.
So we'll be having this conversation with Judith Ngereshi, wellness advocate and champion for women and vulnerable children rights, as well as Dr. Rehab Gathushi, that is lecturer, Department of Psychology at the Mount Kenya University, and a very, very big panel. As always, kama kawaida on Wednesday, this is how we do it here.
Right. So let's take a look at what's making big news in Uganda. We start off with the new vision, Senior 5 fees for top A-level schools. So if you're hoping to take your child to some of the top schools for A-level in Uganda, hii ndio pesa unafaa raise. St. Mary's Kinondo, 3,300,000 shillings.
Ugandan.
Oh yeah, Ugandan. Kwanda kwa shock kwanza. 3 million shillings. Yani school fees too.
Yeah.
The minister has asked schools to be lenient with parents. Just like in Kenya. In Kenya wameongeza 27,000 shillings. Wanataka kuongeza 27,000 shillings. Ifike 70,000. Huko ishafika 3 million. Na nyinyi mna complain hapa.
Ama hiyo ni 27,000.
Probably it's just about the same.
Yeah.
So that's a big story on the front page of the new vision.
Daily Monitor, subject selected for new A-level class, and the plan is with just 3 days left before Senior 5 students begin their first term. The government has released the revised A-level curriculum detailing the subjects and topics of study or teaching. So
definitely matters education, big news in Uganda this morning.
Yes, but we have another story here. Aaron Kiza faces same music as Kiza Besije, and this is lawyer Aaron Kiza at the chief or civil divisions of the High Court in Kampala yesterday, and Aaron Kiza, of course, he was one of the lawyers and he was accused for contempt of court.
Yes, he's one of the lawyers who was working with Kiza Besije. Yes. That's as far as Uganda news is concerned. Across the border in Tanzania, gazeti la Mwananchi wasema siri misamaha ya Samia JPM. Ni kwa wanasiasa machachari nchini Januari Makamba, Nape iliyotangazwa hadharani kwa nyakati tofauti. Wadau waeleza kilichojificha na sababu za wakuu hao kusamehe. So kuna msamaha kati ya
Samia na Januari.
Januari ni kama, you know, the speaker of the National Assembly in Uganda, her name is Among. So when you see it on the headline, people think it's Amang.
Yeah. Okay.
So now when you see Januari, ndio anaitwa JPM.
Yes.
Au ni John Pombe Magufuli.
Oh.
JPM ni John. Kuna picha pale ya John Pombe Magufuli pale kwenye ukurasa wa mbele.
So siri misamaha ya Samia na John Pombe Magufuli. Okay.
So they're trying to compare and draw parallels between the presidents and people they pardoned, and as far as politics is concerned. Pale juu historia mpya Kariakoo saa 24 ilivyoanza. So 24-hour economy Dar es Salaam, safari ya shughuli za biashara kufanyika kwa saa 24 katika eneo la Kariakoo jijini hapa ilianza rasmi jana baada ya mkuu wa mkoa huo Albert Chalamila kufanya hiyo launch. So Kariakoo huko, unajua kuna Kariakoo ya Kenya haikai anything close to this. So Kariakoo ya Dar es Salaam, it's a trade center, a very busy one.
Ama ni Isilia huko.
Ni kama Isilia. Wazee Chadema watwishwa zigo kutibu majeraha. Kwa hivyo masuala ya siasa bado yanapewa kipaumbele kwenye gazeti za Tanzania. Uganda, masuala ya elimu. Tanzania, siasa.
The Citizen, still in Tanzania, inside the building material production versus cost paradox. And they say despite significant growth in the construction materials industry, prices have remained stubbornly high, leading to increased building and rental costs across the country. And wanatupatia pali breakdown of how it works. Annual domestic demand for steel bars stood at 605,400 tons as of March 2024, an excess of 294,600 tons of steel bars were exported to neighboring countries. Matters development in Tanzania. Kule juu, still the story on Kariakoo is the dawn of a new era as Kariakoo now open for business 24/7. That is on the top strip of the Citizen. Let's come back kule chini and we see Samia pledges more science schools for boys nationwide. That story is on page 3. Our boys are doing well in sciences in Tanzania. Looks like it. Matters DRC, we see DR Congo conflict and the SADC technocrats meet in Dar es Salaam. And Foreign Affairs permanent secretaries from 16 SADC member states yesterday began a 2-day meeting in Dar es Salaam to discuss ways of ending the conflict in eastern DR Congo. Uhuru Kenyatta kwa hapa.
I'm not so sure. He's not from SADC, but yes, there are those who suggest that he should be among those people. Alongside Olusegun Obasanjo, former president of Nigeria, that they should be leading the talks towards ending the Congo crisis. Whether that will happen, we wait and see. So these are the headlines, not just local, but regionally. We'll be back to take a look at the local ones in a short while. Turejelee hapa nyumbani tuangalie masuala ya anga. Hali ya anga na tunaanzia wapi Kilifi. Kwa nini? Sababu President William Ruto atakuwa Kilifi leo as he continues with his tour of the coast region. So it is 26 degrees Celsius as we speak, feels like 28, promises to be a very sunny day, highs of 32 degrees. So yes, quite warm temperatures as well, just as we've been seeing throughout this week. That's Kilifi. Twende Kisumu.
Raila Odinga was there yesterday, maybe he still is. It's 20 degrees as at now, it feels like 24, very hot. Highs of 34 degrees.
This is very hot.
Very.
Even for Kisumu, 34 degrees is actually very hot. So
sunny throughout.
Yes.
No cloud cover.
No cloud cover, yes. Usijaribu kuangalia precipitation, hakuna kitu.
Yeah.
The other city is Eldoret. In Eldoret, it is 13 degrees Celsius as we speak. Also promises to be a very sunny day with very little, actually clear skies throughout the day. No chance of rainfall, highs of 27 degrees in Eldoret. And in Murang'a,
16 degrees as at now, it feels like 15, highs of 31 expected, sunny weather throughout.
Can you imagine in Murang'a, 31 degrees Celsius? This is too hot, yes.
Yeah.
For anyone even going to Murang'a or areas around Murang'a as you head towards Mount Kenya region, Nyeri and areas like that, this is very high temperatures in Murang'a today.
Yeah.
What about Nairobi? City in the sun. We have that much sun. Oh yes.
We do. Nakumbuka kuna nuka, bado kuna vita hapo, KPLC na the county government.
Waliongeza takataka nyingine.
Highs of 28 degrees expected today, sunny throughout, hakuna cloud cover hata kidogo.
Clear skies. Kunywa maji tafadhali, kunywa maji. So that's the weather situation in across the country. Very warm temperatures. That's what we've been seeing obtaining across the country. Let's take a look at traffic situation in Nairobi. It is just about 11 minutes past 6. And clearly you can see Jogoo Road, tayari isha build up. This is extra early for this long stretch of red at Makadara. So if you're planning to use Jogoo Road, umechelewa kidogo. You can see areas around Makadara, very long stretch of red. Huko nyuma, Manyanja Road not looking bad. Hata nini wajamka, watu wa Kangundo Road, unaona, no red. Hata pa Malusi hakuna shida, but Jogoo Road, it's already building up. So I think that's a major problem this morning. Other areas, tuangalizia hapa, hata Pangani haijafika hapo. So definitely there's a problem on Jogoo Road. There's a stretch of red just before you get to Outer Ring Interchange, up Allsops, if you're using Thika Road. So probably there's an incident there after Garden City, between Garden City and Allsops there. Also another stretch of red. So the only places we can see that have a problem this morning is around Makadara and around Allsops area. The rest of the city looks good. Nothing to report on all the major tributaries heading towards town. So that's the traffic situation this morning.
Best time to leave?
Oh yes, and probably if you're actually on Jogoo Road, if you can avoid Jogoo Road, areas around Makadara, sawa.
Yeah.
But if you're using Outer Ring Road towards Thika Road, enda upite hao watu wamekuwa held back kidogo.
All right, let's take a look at the question of the day. What you do today matters. Even the smallest actions have the power to shape your tomorrow. Stay consistent, stay focused, and let time amplify your efforts.
All right. Big headline there on the front page of the People Daily. Ruto Raila scheme to share power. They say insiders reveal that the two fours turned allies explore legal instrument that will enable their parties assemble alliance ahead of 2027. And I tend to believe this because when Raila Odinga went to visit President Ruto at State House Mombasa, he was accompanied by very key and very close people to him. Ukiona Oburu Odinga and accompany Raila, that's a serious deal. Someone else who was there was his lawyer. It's called Paul Maina.
Okay.
Paul Maina akitembea na Raila, hiyo jua wanaenda kusign documents. Yes.
Yes, salamu.
His brother has to be there and his lawyer. Junet Mohamed au wengine sawa watakuja wanamsinikisha. Lakini if you see Oburu Odinga and you see Paul Maina, imeenda. So yes, wanaita strategy hapa. The main story is actually on page 4. Page 4 of this paper, and they say President William Ruto and opposition leader Raila Odinga are working on a legal framework for a grand coalition ahead of the 2027 election in a likely game-changing realignment in Kenyan politics. So what will this mean? This could actually be a game changer. Ndio amekaa akisema watch this space, but I think the space is already taken. His story imeenda, if you ask me.
Naona akichukua prime minister.
I don't know now what, because they're talking about power sharing. Power sharing, it means that there are two principles.
50-50.
Could be 50-50, but can you be a principal as a prime minister? Not so sure, yes. Other quick highlights on the front page of this paper: future of over 700,000 children in the dark after society dissolved. They say over 500,000 vulnerable youngsters supported by the Child Welfare Society of Kenya risk being left homeless should the government proceed with plans to dissolve the agency. That's a bit concerning. That story is on page 6. This paper also is keeping up with
Pope
news about the Pope Francis's health. It says Pope Francis leads Catholic Church from hospital ward. He's yet to leave hospital, and we're still not sure about his condition so far. MPs demand Sakaja arrest, ndio hiyo ulikuwa unasema pale Kenya Power. Waliongeza takataka.
Yes. Watu wafanye kazi nyingine.
But surely, what kind of leaders do we have? Can they actually sit down in a boardroom and decide this is how we're going to deal with this problem? Enda ukote takataka uende umwage hapo.
Imagine they won't. Washasema who will blink first.
This is the energy department, the energy committee in the National Assembly. Wamekasirika sana because they're saying surely that's not how to handle this. They want Sakaja arrested. Whether that will happen, we'll have to wait and see. The saga continues. So those are the stories on People Daily today.
All right, let's take a look at the Standard. Pain of Haiti is the main story here. And a big loss at just 25 years. Naomi Samuel never thought she would be a widow after what they first thought was a career break for her husband turned into a nightmare when he succumbed to injuries during the controversial Haiti mission. Now, this story is on page 4 of this newspaper. He was their only hope, their family says. He was killed. Samuel was killed on Sunday after being injured in an operation in the Haiti nation, and his family is now asking the state to speed up process of bringing the body home. I also saw somewhere that he was to pay dowry in April. Yeah.
I saw he was born in 1994. He's a very young guy.
Very young. Alianza around 2021. Ajakaa sana, you know. He's 28 years. Age of the police officer killed during the UN-backed mission in Haiti. Naomi says, she's quoted here, and she says, "It is unbelievably sad. I was expecting to receive him back home as he had planned to attend his sister's wedding in April." Other top stories there, Gachagua, Raila will be president if he joins us. That is according to former DP Rigathi Gachagua. And in a candid interview, former DP claims he has numbers that will make opposition leader win the elections with stunning majority. Kuja tutakupatia urahisi.
Lakini ishaenda. Kuna power sharing deal that most likely will be revealed in the coming weeks. Your offer imekuja a bit too late, I think.
And he says, "I have heard them promise him to be prime minister. That is a lie. It is conmanship. You will need a referendum." That is according to former DP Rigathi Gachagua. Other stories there, Ruto in Coast Charm offensive, and the president, who is on a week-long tour of the region, promised residents jobs, electricity connection, settlement of squatters, and water as he put a case for the broad-based government. And that story is on page 9. That story on Iebc still there. 2027 elections will cost 61 billion Kenyan shillings. That is the highest in Africa.
It's actually the highest even for Kenya, but they say that Kenya is among the countries that have the most expensive elections.
Yes.
Alafu bado hata ikiisha huwa tuna dispute. Na hiyo pesa imeenda hivyo.
Yeah. After last year was very, very high. So this is an increase, from 2022.
19 billion shillings more.
Yeah. Right. Okay. On the top strip of this newspaper, MPs call for Sakaja arrest of a garbage stand that is with the KPLC, and Trump order on digital tax to hurt KRA. Pact could see RSF get stronger, story on page 22, and Arteta clings to EPL hope in spite of odds. The story is on page 32 of the Standard. Yes, and that's the Standard.
Right. Take a look at the Star, and it talks about what we saw on the front page of the People Daily. Secret treaty. Raila and Ruto sign 2027 deal. Nilikuambia hao wamesema mambo kama vile mimi naona. Ukiona ametembea na lawyer hapana kwenda ati wewe ameenda kusign.
Ameenda.
MOU, however, remains closely guarded. That's the front page of the Star. And let's take a look at what they're saying, because ODM leader Raila Odinga is poised to secure more cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries, and ambassadors as he formalizes his political partnership with President William Ruto. The two leaders are expected to announce their collaboration between Kenya Kwanza and ODM in the coming weeks, just before Ruto reveals a cabinet reshuffle aimed at integrating more members of Raila's party. Yes, so on one hand, hata mkisema tio akuje o mtampatia presidency upande huu, ashaenda na asha sign. Yes. All right. Other quick highlights on the front page of the Star today. MPs reject UDA-ODM bid to deal with party rebels. ODM boss, we can see ODM boss there with the president. Let's see what they're talking about here on page 7. Parliament has opened an inquiry into the new medical equipment. No, that's a different story. Page 7, MPs reject. Yes, MPs are split about a bid by President William Ruto and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga to discipline party dissidents. Through the National Dialogue Committee, NADCO, the duo sought to amend laws to allow parties to deregister their rebels. Yes, parties still don't have powers to discipline people who turn against them, their own parties, by removing them from their parties. Of course, MPs are not going to support that. With the kind of dancing from one side of the parliament to the other, hakuna MP atakubali.
The real watermelons.
Hakuna MP atakubali hiyo maneno. Pale mbele kwa ukurasa wa mbele, the Star, Turkana take up arms to repel Ethiopian militia. And you see pictures there of security men and women. Men armed with rifles. This is actually a woman. In Todonyang, Turkana County, after Desanach militia from Ethiopia attacked and killed 20 fishermen. So wamechukua arms, wanasema tutadili na nyinyi hata sisi.
Many are still missing, they say.
22 people are still missing from that attack. That's the Star this morning.
Business Daily, Kibaki era tycoons company falls over 3.7 billion Kenyan shillings KCB loan. And we see photos here of Ngugi Kiuna, Zephaniah Mbugo and Eddie Njoroge, and giant cereals manufacturer Protractor, and Alan, which is linked to Kenyan billionaire businessmen, including Ngugi Kiuna, has been placed under receivership over a 3.7 billion shillings bank debt. Now, the High Court placed Procter and Allen, that is EA Limited, under the receivership of Pona Ngipali Venkata Ramana Rao, and Swarup Rao Ponangi Pali, effective February 24, 2025, after it failed to service a KCB group loan estimated at 3.7 billion shillings. This story is on page 2 if you want to know more about what is happening there on this KCB debt loan with the Kibaki era tycoons company. Toyota Farm to buy another 69% stake in Good Life Pharmacy. On the ticker, we see domestic debt expands by 1.7 trillion Kenyan shillings under President Ruto, and Kenya's borrowing from the domestic market have grown by 1.7 trillion since President William Ruto took office in September 2022, according to CBK data. How Treasury plans to fund $900 million Eurobonds buyback. Britain deepens its stake in premiums, and Nairobi's prime office rents cheaper than Kampala and Dar. Tenants are paying less for prime offices in Nairobi compared to other cities in the region, such as Kampala, Uganda, and Dar es Salaam. That is impressive.
Wow.
Nyumba ni expensive in Kenya, so that's impressive, and that's the Business Daily.
All right. Ofa ya Gachagua kwa Raila. Nasema hii ofa imekuja late. Imechelewa kidogo, lakini wanasema amuomba Odinga avuke hadi upande wake badala ya kuungana na Ruto, akiahidi kumpa urais bila jasho mwaka 2027. Na ananukuliwa pale akisema Raila hupata takriban ya kura milioni 6. Sisi tuna kura milioni 6 kwa wastani. Kufikia saa 4 asubuhi siku ya kupiga kura, Raila Odinga atakuwa amepatikana. Rigathi Gachagua alikuwa anazungumza na wanahabari kwa masuala ya urais. Asema Ruto anamhadaa Raila kuwa atampa waziri mkuu, akisema wadhifa huo hauko kwenye katiba. Viongozi mbalimbali Mlima Kenya wamuunga Rigathi mkono. So Raila Odinga is actually right now the most popular politician. Everyone wants him on their side. Kuja upande hii, kuja upande ile. Watu walikuwa wasema huyo mtu ule mzee wa vitendawili, huyo jamaa tutaki sahi,
aende Bondo.
Kuja upande hii tutarudisha yeye Bondo. So wanasema hapana, kuja kuna kitu tunataka kukupa. Ashasa, unajua you can actually see even President Ruto has a lot of time for Raila Odinga right now. And quickly signing documents like that says a lot. Vidokezo zaidi kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti hili la Taifa Leo, anasema ni usiku wa fataki katika ligi kuu EPL. Viongozi Liverpool wanawaalika Newcastle, huku Arsenal wakizuru Nottingham. Nottingham is actually third on the table. Tough game there. Karata mpya ya siasa Meru, Munya, Murungi na Linturi waanza ushirikiano katika hali inayohatarisha hatma ya gavana Mwangaza. Siasa za Meru na kwingine ugomvi kuhusu mali ya Nyachae, watoto wake wapigania pesa zilizopatikana baada ya kuuzwa kwa ardhi yake Kisii. Habari zaidi kwenye ukurasa wa 4. Pale juu, hatuna pesa za hospitali, serikali inasema. Kumbuka kuna hospitali za kibinafsi zimesema hazitaendelea kutoa huduma kwa wagonjwa wakingojea kulipwa na SHA. Kwa hiyo wewe ni mgonjwa, ukija hospitalini lipa cash.
wameambiwa hadi next year.
Sasa serikali inasema hata ni pesa gani mnasema we owe you nothing. Hatuna hiyo pesa. Wagonjwa kuumia zaidi, serikali ikisema hospitali za kibinafsi zitalipwa deni la SHA baadaye. Baadaye. Kwingineko, mwenye eCitizen alilipwa bilioni 1.4 mwaka wa 2024. Maswali tele, kampuni ya kibinafsi ilizoa pesa nyingi za umma. Habari kwenye ukurasa wa pili. Kwa hivyo eCitizen mwenyewe ni binafsi, sio serikali, lakini inaokota pesa za serikali. I tell you, only in Kenya.
Interesting. Daily Nation. The main story there is on the 2027 elections, the Iebc, and they also make mention of it. 61 billion shillings, Iebc polls shocker. Now the budget is 19 billion shillings more than the amount splashed in the 2022 general election by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, and comes at a time when the country's healthcare system is in a mess. The capitation to public schools has not been disbursed, and the university funding model is in a disarray. Story on page 4 at 5. And they make mention of another figure here. They say 25 billion shillings amount Iebc requires in the 2025-2026 financial year to facilitate voter registration and acquisition of election technology software and hardware. Other top stories there. SHA crisis. No deal to unlock billions after state-private hospitals talks, and the standoff between the Ministry of Health and private hospitals over money owed to them by SHA and the defunct NHIF is threatening to plunge Kenya's healthcare system into a full-blown crisis, and with healthcare providers refusing to treat patients until their claims are settled. The lives of millions now hang in the balance as access to essential medical services becomes increasingly limited. And you know, SHA Chair CEO Ingasira aliwaambia jana, maybe they don't know how to record their claims, so they will be trained on how to do it so that they can keep proper track of it. Yeah, so they're trying to tell them, you're not doing it properly. The story on Britain that we talked about yesterday is also given prominence here, and they say Britain's body find exposes dark secrets of Makongo forest in Makueni. There are people who've already been arrested in regards to that. On the top strip of the Daily Nation, Gachagwa's Mount Kenya offer to Raila triggers a storm. Former DP says it is up to Odinga to decide whether he wants to play second fiddle to President Ruto or embrace Mount Kenya and be made president. Kenyan officer killed in Haiti planned to pay dowry in April. All right, that's the Daily Nation.
All right. And those are the dailies today. Of course, main discussion is on this treaty, this agreement between President William Ruto and the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. What exactly is contained there? What is in store for Raila Odinga? Many people are saying, okay, fine, even if he's offered Prime Minister's position, that's too low for him. He could actually get better, according to Rigathi Gachagua. He could actually become president come 2027. It's up to him. But inakani kama dili shasainiwa. So that's going to be our main discussion, and of course this huge election bill, 61 billion shillings budget for the next election. Do we really need elections when you don't have money? We're living beyond our means.
Well, they gotta do what they gotta do.
Let's take a look at the cartoons this morning. Na hapa is, I think it speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Because sijui nita explain aje. Kuna ng'ombe pale inaitwa City. Na inaachilia uchafu pale kwa ng'ombe nyingine inaitwa, iko na ile horns za Kenya Power. This is actually the Kenya Power Company logo.
Yeah.
I think it speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain it further?
Labda wamesema who will blink first. Na hapo hizo ng'ombe sioni nani ana blink.
So yes, a big discussion there. Cartoonist ametuchanganya kiasi. We lack words to explain.
This is Daily Nation.
This is a Daily Nation, yes.
Here we see a caricature there of the President hapa mwisho and Prime CS Musalia Mudavadi, and this one we said it could be the DP. And we see this caricature of the President is saying, relax, it's just a weed, janja weed.
Yes.
And this is, I think, the Arab militia in Sudan.
The RSF militia.
Yes.
It's previously known as Janjaweed. Actually, Hemeti was part of the Janjaweed, which is accused of a lot of atrocities, especially in the crisis in Darfur. Now we're seeing that this gentleman here is rolling a red carpet for the Janjaweed.
Yeye ndiye anaambiwa relax, it's just a Janjaweed.
It's just Janjaweed.
Okay.
Just a weed. That's a cartoon on the Nation. On the People Daily captures the main discussion we're having today. Two people running together and they're already tied and they're just about to take a huddle in 2027 deal. So they say this gentleman, former Prime Minister, is telling the president, two heads are better than one. I did it with Moi, Kibaki and Uhuru. Because you see now they're talking about a grand coalition. The last time we heard about grand coalition was between Raila Odinga and President Mwai Kibaki.
Yes.
And I remember the complaints were many, including how short the carpet was. Dealing in a grand coalition is not easy. And who comes before who? Issues of protocol. Because the Prime Minister then, Raila Odinga, and his handlers had a problem because there was also the Vice President, Kalonzo Musyoka. So in terms of protocol, wanasema rais kwanza. So who comes next? Is it the Prime Minister or the Vice President? Ninaona ni kama kutakuwa na shida kama hiyo, if at all they pursue a grand coalition again. So who will be bigger, the Deputy President or the Prime Minister? That's a cartoon on the People Daily.
Or the PCS. PCC, PSC, Musate Mudavadi as well.
Prime Cabinet Secretary. That one has to go. Anyway, that's a cartoon on the Standard. There's a rhino there, imeitwa Kenya Kwanza. Alafu kuna mtu anapiga kelele pale juu. CS Muturi is depicted there as a bird making noise on the back of this huge rhino. The rhino is all, as in, you know, it's an inconvenience, but the rhino doesn't need to bother with that. Remember, it's been weeks since we were told that this CS has not even been attending cabinet meetings. He's talking at cross purposes with his boss, but afutwi kazi. So the government has comfortably ignored CS Muturi. Mpaka tumemsahau. But remember, they said with this new deal between President William Ruto and Raila Odinga, there is a cabinet reshuffle in the offing. So probably hapo ndio atajua how to deal with CS Muturi. Yes. So those are the main discussions today. Remember, we'll be having in studio MPs Makali Mulu from Kitui Central, David Kiplagat of Soi, and Duncan Madhenge from Nyeri Town. Do stand by for that conversation.
It's Wednesday, and a conversation on drug use among university students will also be coming next from 8 a.m. all the way to 10 a.m. So interact with us on our social media platforms, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and YouTube, TV47 News KE on X. My handle is at Ann_Dida, and the hashtag is Morning Cafe.
My handle on X is at Fred Indimuli.
Stay with us.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable. Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
You're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth, as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water.
Yes, should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget, regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upward, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Just one day after President William Ruto met ODM leader Raila Odinga following the latter's loss of the AU seat, a move seen as part of a strategy to win votes in 2027, the head of state today emphasized the importance of rejecting divisive politics. This as the president stressed the need for inclusivity in the government to ensure peaceful coexistence for all.
Unataka tukue pamoja ama tutengane? Tuwe na umoja ama tutengane? Munasema tuungane? Munasema tushirikiane? Waswahili wanasema umoja ni nini? Si umoja ni nguvu. Kwa hivyo tuungane, tushirikiane, ndio tupeleke taifa letu la Kenya mbele. Hasa nyinyi watu wa hapa pwani, mara nyingi mulijihisi ya kwamba muliwachwa nyuma.
The president revealing the new development during his tour of the larger coast region, where he visited Kwale County on the second day of his tour to promote his agenda. His deputy Kithure Kindiki also calling on Kenyans to embrace peace and support the unity of the country.
Ni lazima sisi zote kama taifa tuishi kwa amani kama ndugu na dada. Masuala ya siasa ilipita, sasa ni wakati wa maendeleo. Na ndio umeona serikali sasa imejumuisha watu wote. Na sasa sisi zote tuko nyuma ya rais kusongeza taifa mbele, tukiwa taifa moja na tukiishi kwa amani. We are here to support the unity of the country.
Tukiongozwa na rais, hiyo serikali mrefu, pana, kubwa, mapana na marefu, sisi wote tuwe kwa hiyo serikali pana na murefu.
The move comes as President William Ruto and opposition leader Raila Odinga revealed they would announce their next steps sooner than expected. President William Ruto officially launched the 1.4 billion last mile phase 4 connectivity project in Kwale, which aims to connect 12,700 households to the national electricity grid. The flag off ceremony took place at Kiwegu Secondary School grounds in Vanga, Kwale County, where President Ruto also commissioned newly equipped classrooms and a laboratory at the school. The last mile phase 4 connectivity project is set to play a crucial role in improving living standards, stimulating local economies, and bridging the development gap between rural and urban areas.
What transpired also in Addis Ababa and thereafter, and I've told him that that chapter is now behind us. Now we're moving forward. I'd said that there was going to be life after Addis Ababa. And that's why I'm back here. And I say that before I make any comprehensive statement, I was going to consult widely. I'm not just going to be confined to Nyanza or this part of Nyanza. I will be talking to leadership from Kisii, from Western, from the coast, from the Rift Valley, from the Eastern, from Northeastern, from Central, all over the country. During this period of time, I'm going to consult before we make the next move, as I said. So I say that I will make a statement sometimes next week. And I want just to tell you here also that watch this space.
All right. Indeed, you're watching Morning Cafe on TV 47 with me, Fred Indemoli. It's time for State of the Nation, a quick look at the big headlines. And yes, that's what you just watched is part of the main discussions this morning. Allow me to introduce my panelists. Makali Mulu, MP Kitui Central. It's good to have you in studio.
Thank you. Thank you and good morning.
Yes. David Kiplagat, MP Soi, good morning and karibu sana.
Good morning and thanks.
We're also hoping that Duncan Madenge, the MP Nyeri Town, will be joining us later as we continue. But the big discussion features on the front pages today. On the front page of the Star, they say secret treaty, Raila and Ruto sign 2027 deal. MOU, however, remains closely guarded, according to this paper. On the People Daily, it is also the big story there on the front page. Ruto-Raila scheme to share power. Insiders revealed that the two foes turned allies are exploring a legal instrument that will enable their parties assemble alliance ahead of 2027. So it's rather an open secret now that there is a deal. We saw the former Prime Minister accompanied by his lawyer, his legal advisor, Paul Mwangi, on that visit to State House Mombasa. That was very telling, alongside his brother Oburu Odinga. And you know, when those two people accompany Raila Odinga, it is a major discussion. It's not just any other discussion. So yes, the papers appear to have captured that. But Mwanamulu, you may remember the challenges that come with power sharing.
Yes, I know.
Especially in the grand coalition between Prime Minister Raila Odinga and President Mwai Kibaki. Should we be looking forward to that?
You know, thank you, Fred, for hosting us this morning. I remember the last time I was here with you, we were discussing what are the options for Raila when he comes back to Kenya. And now that he's in Kenya, things must happen. You know, when you mention Raila's elder brother, Honorable Oburu, and Mwangi, the legal advisor, the only person missing that equation to have the game short is the daughter.
Winnie.
I don't know that the daughter was behind the scenes. It's only that the cameras didn't capture her. But I'm suspecting she might have been also around. And the truth be said, you know, I was looking at earlier clips of President Ruto when he was campaigning. And I remember in one of the clips, he was campaigning somewhere and he said, Raila was able to have a working relationship. You can call it a handshake or a working relationship. He was able to have a working relationship with President Moi. He was able to have a working relationship with President Kibaki. He was able to have a working relationship with Uhuru. And at that time, he said it categorically that we will not allow Honorable Raila to work with us. At that time, when he was campaigning. Today, here we are. You can see the signs are very clear to anybody in Kenya that Raila and Ruto have gotten into a handshake. And I can tell you, Fred, without any fear of contradiction, the working relationship between Raila and President Ruto is even not like the earlier arrangements. As we are talking today, Raila, the other arrangements was nusumukate. This time is 3/4 of a loaf and a quarter.
Who getting?
And President Ruto is getting the quarter. Kiplagat will not agree with me, but I can tell you for sure, the person who is holding the quarter is now President Ruto. And I said it earlier, I said, the way things are today, because of the dynamics of the 2027 politics, for the remaining 2 years, this government will be run by Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga.
Is that a more attractive proposition for Raila Odinga, that he is in charge of William Ruto's government? Raila Odinga would have wished he was the president. But my concern is on this kind of working relationship. As Bwana Mulu says, previously the working relationship between Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta was a different one. Yes, a handshake, but not formalized to this extent. The only formalized working relationship we've seen is a grand coalition. And the problems that came with that were very obvious between Mwai Kibaki and Raila Odinga. Do you agree with Bwana Mulu that the president could be getting the short end of the stick?
Thank you, Fred. I know politics is about propagandas and speculations. And I don't want to enter into the arena of speculative politics. I know some of the headlines might be a bit clary, but let us handle the facts as they are. The fact of the matter is that right now we have a broad-based government between Kenya Kwanza and one of the factions of Azimio, that is ODM. Basically, an informal kind of, it's a gentleman's agreement, so that at least we can bring the entire country together for purposes of ensuring that there is equity in development, and also there is equity in terms of the positions of government. So that is what is currently in. Of course, as we all know, Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Odinga was contesting for the AU seat, and our focus as a country was to support him to be able to achieve that feat, which, like in any elections, you can win or lose. We weren't victorious at the AU, so basically we are back home. I know there will be discussions, and those discussions are still ongoing, maybe to deepen the broad-based, or even to formalize in terms of going forward, because
the daily suggests that something has already been signed.
No, nothing has. As you know, I've said, let us not go to speculative kind of politics. Let us deal with facts as they are. Okay. The fact is that Raila went to Mombasa purposely to update HE on what transpired at the AU, and also to be welcomed back to the country.
Yes.
And
he only just happened to be accompanied by his lawyer.
Of course, Raila has so many friends, and those friends have their spheres of life, of what they are doing, of their professions. What we know is that Baba said that let him consult, and whichever directions he will make it next week. Okay. So those are facts. The other ones are a bit speculative. And maybe as I finish, Fred, parties, including the one for my colleague here, parties are formed to get power. There is no party that is formed to go to the opposition. All of them have only one objective. Yes. That is to get power and govern. So,
talking of power,
in the process, if your maths seems not to be adding up to get the absolute power, you can get shareable power. Okay. So that is given.
So whichever you do agree that actually whichever direction, like a sharing of power.
Yeah, even them, they are struggling to have a coalition that might win power in 2027. So everyone are doing their math, okay. And that math will emanate from somewhere.
A lot of political arithmetic, definitely. But allow me to welcome onto the set Duncan Maina Madenge, MP Nyeri Town. Good morning, karibu sana.
Good morning.
You found me discussing with Honorable Mulu and Kiplagat this what we are seeing on the headlines today on the People Daily. Ruto Raila scheme to share power. Underline share power, and secret treaty Raila and Ruto signed 2027 deal. Bwana Kiplagat seems to agree that yes, there could be necessity for a power sharing agreement. Now, power sharing is very different from a working arrangement like the broad-based government or the handshake that we saw with the Uhuru Kenyatta. What we saw, or a power sharing deal, is probably what we saw with the Grand Coalition between Mwai Kibaki and Raila Odinga. Do you agree that that is what we are staring at this time around?
Thank you, Dimuli. Raila has shared power before. In the final year of the late President Daniel Arap Moi's term in office, after the change in the constitution and the repeal of Section 2A, allowing for multi-party rule and allowing limiting the presidential term to 2 terms, Tinga joined KANU. It was a power sharing deal.
They called it a merger then.
It was a power sharing deal. He got positions in the KANU government, and he was not the only one. He went in with a number of people. The infamous Kibaki Tosha pronouncement at Uhuru Park was a power sharing deal. In fact, eventually they would call it Nusu Mukate. Despite saying Kibaki Tosha, apparently it was not Kibaki Tosha at the back. There was some power sharing arrangement. Incidentally, after the 2007 elections, Kalonzo Musyoka went into a power sharing deal with Kibaki. That is how he became his vice president, 2007 to 2012. So it is not strange. And right from towards the tail end of Kanu's rule, then we have always had a power sharing arrangement. In the world over, these arrangements are there. And that is why you find that in our statutes, we have pre-election and post-election coalition agreements. It is not static. And at this point in time, with the advent of the broad-based government, there has always been the question of how far does the broad-based government extend. And it was expected. I don't think it was in doubt in the mind of any political leader in this country that after the initial sharing of positions at the cabinet, there was a likelihood of that cascading downwards to other levels of government. With the impeachment that happened in this country, there was another shift towards 2027. Too early in the year and too early in the term, but certainly it has dominated every conversations that have been held in each weekend. And therefore, realistically, then that is also another conversation that is happening across the board. So if it is happening with Kalonzo and Wamalwa and Gachagua on one end, it could as well be happening within Raila and Ruto.
Are we genuine, Bwana Mulu, when we compare this deal that we're staring at with probably the merger, NDP joining KANU, the handshake with Uhuru Kenyatta? Because I tend to believe that this, where documents are signed, where they explore legal instruments of sharing power, that's a more serious deal. And probably the only other time we can compare with was a grand coalition of post-2007 with Mwai Kibaki. That had its own problems. Raila Odinga, Prime Minister, there was Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka and President Mwai Kibaki. The problems then were very different.
I think, Fred, what my colleagues are saying is the reality. The reality that the way our governance structures is structured, you realize that it will be very difficult for just one party to get to power. So in most cases, we'll have this issue of agreeing that we need to form a government. We call it broad-based, we call it bread-based, call it any name. But what I wanted to say, and this is what I don't agree with Kiplangat. Politics, we can't just say it's speculative. When you go to the university, we used to have, in the old days when I was in the university, we used to have a political science as a subject, which means it's a science, it's only that it's a social science. A lot of data goes into this analysis. So when you say a deal is being signed, I'm sure a lot of analysis has gone to that. The only problem I have with the current arrangement is that this arrangement between Raila and President Ruto, they don't want to formalize it. And that's deliberate. That we agree we need to form a government of national unity so that we bring more Kenyans to it. But then why can't we formalize it? And that's where I have a problem. Because the reason they are keeping it as secret, as has been said here, is so that they're in a position to say, we are still in the minority while they're actually in the majority. And we have had that discussion here. We are saying, can they then sign it officially so that they move to the majority side? Because we agree, we have no problem with them joining, because we need unity in this country. But the challenge is where some want to join, or they've already joined, and I've told you, they might not want to say, they might want to say it, or they might not want to say it. The truth of the matter is, the current government, where the guys happen to be members, the governing, the executive, they are in that form of the coalition, is holding the short part of the stick. And that will remain up to 2027, I can tell you for sure. Okay. Now, the only fear I have, and this is based on analysis, is that you remember when Raila joined KANU, at some point he had to step out. You remember when it was being said, tingatinga imetoka na engine, ikaacha shell. Don't be surprised in 2027 to see this thing called Kenya Kwanza, this government of national unity, remaining a shell.
All right. Do you agree that there's a real risk for President William Ruto and Kenya Kwanza with this deal, what he has just described?
Okay, as I said, I don't want to, I still insist that I don't want to be speculative. Because as far as we are concerned, there is no deal that has been formalized officially. And when that is done, it will be done in broad daylight, and we shall know the contents. For now, as I said, what is known is that we have a government of broad-based government, and it is based on gentleman's agreement, which is informal, and that is it. So when that agreement, when and if it will be signed, for sure, one thing you need to know is that the president has been here for a long time. He has been with during the Kanu time, during the Kibaki time, during the Uru's time, and now during his time. So, and one thing you'll give him is that he's a very calculative politician, which, unlike the camp where Makalimulu comes from, they rarely get the traction that is needed. So, and politics is about hard work, and also is about the art of persuasion. And you give it to our president that yes, he is gifted in all the dynamics that is needed for him to be able to retain his seat in 2027. So whichever calculation will come up with, I can assure you that I don't doubt our party leader. And one thing you will also be sure for Baba is that for all the now four governments, he actually believes what a party is formed for, to enjoy power.
To get power.
To enjoy power.
Okay.
And in this current configuration, looking at who is who, you know, this opposition, there are faces. Looking at Kalonzo, looking at Wamalwa, looking at Wamunyoro, there is no combination that can actually outdo the combination of the duo between the president and Baba.
And you look at the dailies, and it would appear because the former deputy president is quoted there offering
may I finish,
Raila something. Because you've mentioned the opposition.
May I finish? If I can go into the chartered speculative politics you want us to discuss, if it comes to fruition that there will be a deal between Raila Amolo Odinga and our party leader, that will be a perfect deal that will deliver a blow to the opposition that they seem not to be having head or tail. They are still reorganizing. And you see, even looking at the movements, you know, when rocks start moving, you start organizing yourself because you go to a ground that you are a bit safe. Now, politically, things are happening in Kenya.
But if you look at it, what offer, even if it's a power sharing deal, what offer would William Ruto give to Raila Odinga? Is it just the Prime Minister's position?
Of course, as I said earlier, is that also they need to look at our constitution. Our constitution seems to not to reflect our behavior as Kenyans. Our behavior as Kenyans is that there are some positions that whether we like it or not, we shall create even if the constitution does not support them. One of it is the leader of opposition, the position of the prime minister, and all the configuration that comes out with. Okay. So I will also propose that instead of having a constitution that is rigid, there is need to also have a constitution that reflects our Kenyanness and our behavior. Okay. So that it can support, instead of us struggling to form a coalition and trying to panel beat the constitution, let us also chew the bullet and we review this constitution so that it reflects.
The former deputy president actually suggests that any position other than president would be too low for Raila Odinga, because President William Ruto cannot offer the presidency to Raila Odinga. He may just offer probably the prime minister's position. On the front page of Taifa Leo, anasema offer ya Gachagua kwa Raila. And he seems to suggest that Raila Odinga stands a better chance at the presidency if he goes with the opposition. But allow us to take a short break. When we come back, we'll address that issue. You're watching Morning Cafe.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe on TV 47 with me, Freddy Ndimuli. We continue discussing the main political story, and that's the treaty or the deal, power sharing deal, scheme, whatever we may call it this morning. We're still not sure, between President William Ruto and Raila Odinga, and what it portends for the country. And we continue just looking at the positions, and the former deputy president seems to suggest that the biggest thing that President William Ruto can offer Raila Odinga is a prime minister's position, and that would not be big enough for Raila Odinga. He should probably go for presidency come 2027.
You see, the only person currently, until 2027, when the elections are called, who has something to offer Raila Odinga is President William Ruto. Mm-hmm. Everybody else will only offer hot air. They should not begrudge the fact that President William Ruto has is holding the reins of power, and therefore within the confines of the constitutions and the law, he is able to accommodate Raila Odinga. Should Raila Odinga be open to that kind of accommodation? Mm-hmm. So everybody else is speculating. Let's wait for Raila to pronounce himself, and he has said he's going to do consultations. And I'm happy he said, he did mention that he's going to consult with Central. Mm-hmm. Former deputy president should hold his horses and wait for his turn, for Baba to come calling and tell him it's time to consult you. Mm-hmm. And then we see. However, from where I sit, you know, there is only one option remaining that Baba has never exercised. Every other option he has exercised. Baba did a merger with Moi. Baba said Kibaki tosha. Baba has had his handshake. Baba has vied. The only option that he has never taken is to retire from active politics.
Are you suggesting he should retire?
You know, he has taken every other option open. He has vied. Is it 5, 6 times?
5 times.
5 times. So even if he vied the 6th time, that is it's unexpected. You know, it is within his DNA. It is within his practice and patterns. Baba has been in a handshake with Uhuru and also with Ruto initially, before the question of broad-based came. You see, he has done another handshake. Baba has endorsed Kibaki. So if he endorses somebody else this time round, again, it will be within the things he has done.
I think he knew.
So the only thing remaining that he can do, that Kenyans can say now, this is new, is Baba saying, I have retired from active politics and I'm going to take a higher pedestal, or I am going to completely retire, go home, or I'm going to be the elder statesman and influence the leadership of our country without being actively involved in person. And the question of formalizing within the legal framework, again, if we are not amending the law, the only other formality that can be there is a post-election coalition agreement, which is provided for under the Political Parties Act. Any other arrangement would require a change in the law, and changing the law has not been easy in this country unless we can have a fast-tracked version like the IPPG agreement. I think it was in 1997. The other one would be a negotiated version, like when we came and agreed that the Constitution was good enough to go with, and any changes that could be there. But those kind of negotiations do not happen overnight. Anybody initiating a change in the Constitution currently, that change would not substantially work or bear fruits within the remaining term of President William Ruto's first term in office.
Talk about the possibility of changing the law, probably to accommodate this working arrangement.
Yes.
Of course, there are people who say some of it would require a referendum. Is it even feasible? We only have about 2.5 years to the next election. Is it feasible to even consider a referendum? Or are you confident that some of these changes can just be conducted in the National Assembly or in the Houses of Parliament?
No, you know, the Constitution is very clear that there might be need for a referendum. But you remember we had the NATCO team, which came out with a report. And if you look at the NATCO report and the proposed bills, which have actually been already with us in the House, I think 4 are in the Senate, 4 are in the National Assembly. It's like there was consensus that if we went that direction of 4 bills in the Senate and the other 4 in the National Assembly, if we fast track those bills, we'll be able to achieve some of the things we want to achieve for purpose of national unity. So to me, I don't think we don't have a way out. We can still use the NATCO report to achieve much more and accommodate some of the people we want to accommodate. But what is critical, I think, for the country is that, for me, the earlier we formalize this arrangement, so that we have a structure which Kenyans know this is the structure and this is the way we are going to work for the next 2 years, the better for the country. But you know, the way we are doing things currently is causing a lot of confusion. You saw Fred last week, we were supposed to have configured some of some committees which their term expired after 2 years. But we can't do it now because of this confusion, you know, because you see, we hear this talk that Kenya Kwanza has ceded about 4 committees, which are always in the majority side to the minority side. Meaning now that people like Makali Mulu can easily chair a committee which is in the other side. So you know, this confusion, this is what we are saying. Can we formalize this thing so that we know who is in the minority and who is the majority? In that case, we will be able to have people chairing committees informed by which coalition they belong. And in that case, then we will be actually maturing our democracy. Otherwise, we have now a structure which nobody understands. If you talk to my colleagues here, maybe not on camera, they will tell you that the majority of them are not very happy because, you know, they worked so hard for this government. Now, Kiplangatia was supposed to be a chair of a committee. Now you'll be a backbencher like me. Somebody else will be taking that. These guys never worked for anything for this government. So even when we are taking tea, the normal place we take tea, there's a lot of, confusion. People are complaining, we worked so hard. I was talking to one of my friends, I was saying, with them, they have become now observers. While they're supposed to be the insiders, they are now the outsiders, and the new team of people have come as insiders. So these guys are just observers, as you see them seated here.
Is it true, Bwana Kiplagat? Because yes, ODM is excited and loudly so to take over and occupy space in government. Do you agree that probably there's some pressure on people like you who've been in Kenya Kwanza already, trying to accommodate these newcomers?
No, I don't know. The concept that there is pressure. You know, there are facts that don't change. One of the facts is that as Kenya Kwanza, the president is our party leader, the owner of the sword himself. So, and everything falls into play. Of course, as opposition, the wing for ODM, when they come in, of course, you saw what happened after the court ruling on the issue of majority and minority. And those are the things that have destabilized the committees in terms of forming the standing committees. There are still negotiations as to how that one can be handled. But what I want to assure you, as Kenya Kwanza, we are solid, we are stable, and nobody is complaining. You know, you cannot complain when the house is yours. Of course, when you are, the thing is, this politician will tell you, it is not about positions. It is about the resources. And once the resources, I know what my people want. So they want clean water, they want good roads, they want electricity, they want good infrastructure for our schools. Once those are availed, you don't want to worry yourself whether you are a backbencher or you are the chairman. But where the ultimate decisions, where it is made at the seat of power. And that seat of power is not under negotiations in any way.
Are you certain? Because they're talking about power sharing.
Now, of this power sharing, you know, Star is an alarmist.
It's actually on the People Daily.
You know, if you are even done 48 laws of power, there can be no deal as a coalition agreement for 2027 that can be signed in 2025. Because one day in politics is like a year. So you will be so naive to start signing things of 2027 while you are 2025. What is on the table is to try to formalize our broad-based...
the working arrangement.
The working arrangement of the broad-based government. Now that BAMBA is back, we try to formalize that so that at least for the
sustain it for the next 2 years.
For the 2.5 years we can work. Whether in the process of working, when time comes to now do proper politics for 2027, whether that one can be extended, it will be known that time. But for Star, I don't know which school of politics they went to imagine that people can sit in 2025 to sign a post-election agreement of 2027. Things are bound to change, and you cannot give your opponent all your cards. You know, in politics, you keep your cards under the table. You don't just throw it for everybody to read the script. He will finish you. So the only thing that is on the table is the formal agreement, whether we need to formalize that agreement for the working relationship of the broad-based government.
But you do agree that for the sustainability of it for the next 2.5 years,
for the sustainability of, so that in case we have the legal agreements, as Makali Mulu has told you that we have the NARCO reports, and I doubt whether anybody can imagine that we can go to a referendum. You know, you will also be naive to think that within 2.5 years, with all these problems, you can tell Kenyans that our problem is not water, our problem is not electricity, our problem are not the roads, our problem is about sharing power. So can you come and we take 6 months campaigning for us to be able to bring another structure of government. I think that one will be a bit naive. What is there is that those things that are possible to be done within the legal instruments to be done within Parliament will be done within Parliament, because that is where law and amendments to the Constitution are done. But to imagine that we can take the country for a referenda just to create the comfort for our politicians, I think Kenyans have more problems to think about. So all in all, the political dynamics is that everyone plays their cards, and if you are playing your card very well, you cannot be somebody who is showing all your cards to your opponent. So I doubt whether I think this Star newspaper, they need to go back to old school.
Well, we saw Raila Odinga accompanied by his lawyer and his elder brother and to State House, and that was very telling. When those three gentlemen work together, definitely the deal is more serious.
But they should have known that the current broad-based government needs some instruments, and we need to accommodate Baba somewhere. So for his own comfort, and because when Baba is comfortable, everything runs smoothly. You know that. So let us all.
All right, allow us to move on to the next discussion, away from the politics, but still linked to the 2027 elections, and it's about the budget. How much IEBC needs for the elections in 2027. It is a big story on the front page of the Daily Nation. 61 billion shillings. This is way bigger than has ever been for an election. It's also part of a story we've done here at TV47. Let's watch it just to set the stage for this.
With IEBC behind schedule in majority of its operations, starting with the delimitation of boundaries, the delay to register voters and conduct 14 pending by-elections due to lack of commissioners, IEBC officials, led by the Commission's Chief Executive Officer Obadia Keitani, made a case before the National Assembly's Justice and Legal Affairs Committee that the Commission requires 61.7 billion shillings, the highest so far, despite a budget shortfall of 6.7 billion shillings to conduct the 2027 poll.
There is a shortfall according to our requirement of around 6.7 billion, so it's not adequate.
A section of the projected amount will go to the registration of new voters, a process which has delayed, given the urgency of the youth to make their voice felt in the 2027 poll. IEBC projects to register 5.7 million new voters, pushing the total number of registered voters to 28 million, compared to 22.1 million voters in the 2022 general election.
No funds were allocated for that particular exercise.
IEBC further requires 7 billion shillings to replace 45,352 Kenya Integrated Election Management System, KIMS kits, procured in 2017 and which have become obsolete, with MPs raising concerns. Only 14,000 KIMS kits procured in 2022 are operational at the moment. The 2027 poll will be the costliest compared to the 2013, 2017 and 2022 elections. IEBC expects to have new commissioners in office by June this year, expected to preside over 14 pending by-elections, which the Commission projects will cost 480 million shillings. Apul Kamau, TV47.
So the last three general elections since the 2010 Constitution was promulgated have cost the country around 121 billion shillings in total. But the 2027 election, according to a budget proposal given, which is actually before Parliament, is asking for 61 billion shillings. This is the most expensive election ever. It is at least 19 billion shillings more than it cost us in 2022. And the question is, why do we have such an expensive process? When at a time when the healthcare system is almost shutting down due to lack of funds, school capitation is not there, why is our election process that expensive?
Thank you, Dimuli. IEBC needs an overhaul, not just of its personnel, but also in terms of critical and strategic thinking. Our Constitution provides, or our laws provide for continuous voter registration. why does IEBC need 3.8 billion to register voters? The voters that IEBC is purporting to register today, the majority of them are young people who already are in a government system registered for the issuance of ID cards. What would stop IEBC working with the Office of the Registrar of Persons and the Registrar of Deaths and issuing these young people ID card, voters cards? And therefore, the IEBC has a fixed mind that is failing to take advantage of existing opportunities for shared services. And I could even take it down further. Why do even our young people need to go to the Registrar of Persons to get an ID? Well, all of them are sitting a national exam where there is an opportunity again to capture their data, the majority of them.
But our laws do not provide for that kind of synergy.
So that is exactly then why I said we need a change not only in personnel, but also in terms of the mindset and critical thinking, so that we take advantage of existing resources to bring them together to better provide operational efficiency. So I would not give IEBC the kind of money they are asking for voter registration. It can be done at a much, much lower cost within the remaining timelines if we just allowed ourselves to have full circle, 360 degrees connectivity within government, all of government approach.
But we cannot lay that blame squarely on IEBC. It is a matter of legislation. The reason why we do not
we can, Idimuli, because IEBC has that responsibility. And therefore, when they look at the implementation of this responsibility and mandate, they do not just look at the money figures. If there is need for IEBC to attain operational efficiency by having certain statutes amended or changed, then IEBC must bring that proposal. And you will find we have an amendment to the IEBC Act. We have amendments to the Elections Laws Act. So as the user department, in terms of optimizing efficiency, the option of having the laws changed through Parliament are there. Unfortunately, when IEBC appeared before the Justice Legal Affairs Committee, there was no single mention of changing in the law. The second one is the issue of KIMS kit. Why do we really need to keep importing this simple technology? Well, we have very many young people in our national polytechnics, in our technical universities, in our universities of technology. And yet we are complaining about joblessness, about unemployment in our country. So we must, even as we look at the mandate that I am given as a legislature, I must open my horizons to look at the nation as a whole and other challenges that the nation is experiencing, and see how, in the execution of my mandate, I can be able to offer solutions to some of the other challenges that we are facing as a country. The fact that IEBC, in this case, is just concentrating on money at a time when we have very limited fiscal space, for me, it is unacceptable.
Yet for corporations, probably could be an issue of time. We still don't have commissioners. They'll come probably only 2 years to election time. There's definitely pressure on the commission. But do you agree that 61 billion shillings could be a bit too much?
Yeah, I think really the issue, Fred, is that we have this matter of our elections being very expensive is a matter we have discussed for many, many years. And I do agree that time has come when we must do things correctly. What is happening is this. The challenge we are facing is more of a policy and also a legal framework issue. And what we need to do is, if you look at other countries, what do? Other countries have what we call integrated population registration systems. So that once a baby is born, you get a number at that level. Your identity starts there. And by the time you hit 18 years, automatically you get your ID. And most of them don't have these multiple documents where you are carrying your ID, you are carrying your passport, you are carrying. So that in a way you have a system which automatically will be able to say, you are now 18, you need to be registered to be a voter in a country. And I remember we attempted, you remember the issue of the agro-leasing was actually an attempt to that. Then we came at, I think just about 2 years ago, we attempted again, it didn't work. This issue of the Huduma number is all an attempt to that. And then the problem is, we never get it right. And to me, from where I sit, I think the reason we don't get it right is because of vested interests in these things. That some of these systems are very expensive to have them installed. And when you install them, they'll be able to streamline a lot of other issues. This issue of rigging, these issues of people trying to cut shortcuts in terms of registration, this issue of bringing people from outside Kenya to come and register will never happen once you have a well-structured system, because it's either you are born in Kenya where you get your registration at birth, and then you remain a Kenyan all through, and you don't have to apply for anything else. You will just be, when the time comes for voting, you'll be able to vote. But let's come to the cost of the elections. You know, in the morning, we've been to many countries, and my colleagues have also, I'm sure they have had a chance to travel. In developed countries, anytime you go and you hear there are elections, you don't see the kind of excitement we have in this country. You find polling booths are all over the place in the streets. You just walk in and vote. And I think what these other countries have done, they have taken advantage of the technology, which we seem to be saying we are taking advantage. But I agree with Madenk. I don't see why after 10 years, you invest in a system which costs you over 20 billion shillings, and after 10 years, you want to change that system again. Technology has come where you can upgrade systems. You have this system, you can upgrade to the next system. And that's what is even happening in the area of the mobile phones. You see, if you look at the phones you used to use 20 years ago, and the current phones where you have screen touch and all that, these are all the things which have been improved over time. Can we have because I think what we need to do, and I think I tweeted on my X account, I said this, we need to unpack this 61 billion to know what is the cost of a Kenyan going to vote into a polling, so that when I leave home to go and vote, what is the cost? And based on that cost, we are saying we'll be registering about 25 million Kenyans. Then we can multiply that cost with 25 million and you see whether we arrive at 61 billion. By all standards, this is very, very expensive. 61 billion just to conduct elections. To me, I think really we are not getting it right. And as a country, it's time we sat down and said, if it is policy framework, can we have it in place? If it is legal framework, the legislators are here, that we get these things amended, come to the House. This is one of the things you can fast track. As we fast track Raila's personal interest to be accommodated, we can fast track this, which is a national interest, and it will help this country.
Okay. What's your assessment of this,
Okay, thanks, Fred. Allow me to take a different trajectory from my colleagues. First, may I agree that elections in Kenya are very expensive, and the single most, because I have been in Public Accounts Committee, the single most expensive component of our election is actually not the devices and things like that. It is the legal monument, the legal, can I say, it's like a monument, because as IEBC is sitting now, we have a pending bill for legal and these lawyers. These lawyers, they have a way of charging, even representing against, they can charge 1 billion. We have a whole 18 billion pending bill, legal fees.
18 billion.
Which nobody can explain how.
Yet we have a state law office.
You get, nobody can explain how it came about. And that has been a major concern in IEBC. And I know as we head towards 2027, that legal fee is going to double. Now, I said, allow me to take a different trajectory. When you look at the IT systems for IEBC, they are device specific. The infrastructure is inbuilt with the system. So when you have such a system whereby it is device specific, we all agree in any system after 5 years, it becomes unattainable because of issues of security and issue of our upgrades and how our technology is changing.
After every 5 years, it becomes obsolete?
Of course, in any system, and I talk that as a professional in ICT, is that you need to upgrade. The only problem that we have in IEBC, it's like you have this phone. So the system comes as a device. So unlike now, instead of upgrading to put the new system, you have to do away with this what we call this Fold 6 and get a Fold 8. You get? That is where expenditure comes from. The thing I don't agree with IEBC, the thing I wanted to diverge a bit from our colleagues. You know, when you are registering as a citizen of this country to have an ID, there is no way you can convert one-to-one to a voter's card, because a voter's card is very specific. Within that time, where do you want to vote? I might have taken my ID in Kisumu, but now I'm a resident of Kibera. I'll be voting in Lang'ata. So one way or another, you will need. May I finish? You will need to. You will need to get to the voter, who is a registered citizen, to have that information. So you cannot avoid 100%. You cannot do. You get what I mean. And where you are voting is very core to the integrity of the elections, because when we are registering voters of Soy, we want to know how many voters of Soy have registered to vote, because the issue of representation, we are in parliament to represent our people. So the issue of representation comes to one of the failures that IEBC have failed. You know, 2024, they should have done what we call border review, because it is imagined in a representative democracy like ours that if you are representing the people of Nyeri town, they should be as close as possible to the number that I'm representing is in Soy. So if right now I'm representing maybe 1 or 5,000 people in Soy, registered voters, and Makali Mulu is representing 30,000, and all of us have one vote, there is no vote that is weighted. That is why it is given. Of course, there are some constituencies that are protected, which I think they were supposed to expire and things like that. It is expected that part of the core mandate of IEBC, which they have technically failed, is to do a border review. And they were supposed to have done it in 2024. They said there were no commissioners. But it is so pertinent in that you will have an equal representation in parliament, so that you will get somebody who is shouting and being heard and representing 5,000 people, while you are representing like 200,000 people, and all of you have one vote, they have one representation. That is not representation. So we are actually saying, apart from the core mandate of IEBC to register new voters, it is very important that they look at the boundaries, so that as expected in the constitution, and that is that.
Shocking enough, the 61 billion shillings does not include any such.
And that is why, if you look at our article, I think it's Article 89.
Yes,
it is very specific that there will be review to make sure the cap, and they have even given the percentages how the cap is expected, so that if soy has become so big, you can cut some to some constituency, you cut some to some constituency, you create some wards, you do some adjustments, so that it will remain 290, but the parity in terms of distribution will be as equal as possible, so that when we are in parliament representing our people, when I vote as one vote, at least it should have been as close as possible.
Yet denying IEBC this kind of money could probably affect. And you know, we are very political. We are very political.
I forgot one thing. Just
very briefly. Yeah.
To support IEBC, I know the cost might not reach 61, but if there is something that we need to get right as a country, that is priceless is to make sure we deliver fair elections that is accountable and is transparent and has integrity.
Yes,
and that one,
many questions.
May I finish? And that one, if for sure we have to pay 61 billion for us to make this country stable,
does it mean that that's how it translates? That the more expensive, the fairer the election?
You see, nobody in this country has any doubt, an iota of doubt in their mind about the need to hold credible, fair, and just elections. Nobody has negated that desire. It is an agreement across the board, irrespective of which political arrangement you're in. It is a question of then how competitive are we in achieving that ideal? And that is where the variance is coming in. When you look at the figure out there, already in the minds of Kenyans, is that the 2027 elections is going to be one of the most expensive elections worldwide. That in itself already has introduced a bias and contaminated the 2027 elections. If already my colleague is saying the figure may not go to 61 billion, then why in the first place did we provide a figure of 61 billion? Why were we not realistic enough? The fact that then that possibility and reality is there already begins to make Kenyans question those elections. And therefore, even we in everything else that we are doing, including costing, including boundary review, including the kits, including voter registration, everything should feed towards the holding or the conducting of fair, credible, and transparent elections. Mm-hmm. When you look at this figure, against the backdrop of the claims by the opposition out there that lifting vetting is geared towards contaminating the 2027 elections, then you see we are feeding the grapevine. But Ayub, why does a young Muslim boy born in Majengo in Nyeri, registered at a nursery school called Nyakenywa Nursery School, attending a primary school called DB Primary School, attending secondary school at Dankandegwa Secondary School, why does that child need to be vetted on account of bearing the name Abdallah? Mm-hmm. And so these issues must be the realities. And Nyeri is in central Kenya. It is not in a border town, but my Muslim community in Majengo, in Kiganjo, in Rolingo Muslim village, are being subjected to vetting. So some of these conversations, we must have them, but we must have them with clean hands and a clean mind.
All right.
You know, Fred, that's why I was saying where we got it wrong is failure to have the integrated population registration system in place. If we had that system in place, you don't need to talk about vetting. Yeah. You only vet people who are not Kenyans by birth and who now need to be, you need to ask them a few questions to determine whether they need to get our documentation. Otherwise, to me, all these moves are deliberate. That's what I told you. Even this bill of 61 billion, I can tell you, I've been in the budget committee for many years. And every year we discuss this. The so-called pending bills or legal pending bills are fake bills, are bills for people to cut deals. Because it's the easiest. I pay Kipulangati 20 million as a legal fee. He can easily bring back 5 million without any question. He has not worked for it.
The state law office.
So, and we also have a state law office. Why should we be spending so much money on private lawyers who charge the government 4 or 5 times what it will cost under normal circumstances. The other thing, Fred, we have our neighbors here in Uganda. We have our neighbors here in Tanzania. Does it cost this much to conduct an election per, if you do it per unit cost per voter? Does it cost this much? It is more, this is more than 10 times what it would cost a Tanzania or Uganda to go and vote. Why? That's the question. Why do our votes become, okay, there's the issue of, they talk about the issue of the mistrust, and in that case you have to bring all the security personnel to accompany you, have to bring everybody to be, you guys of media, you have to be there to watch. But the thing is, it's as simple as this. For example, what you're saying about people going to be registered. If we had this system, I don't have to travel to Kitui to register. I just need to say, this year, I'll be voting in our constituency by this name, in our ward by this name, and it goes to the system. And then you generate your figures for each constituency and your figures for each ward, and in that case, then you're home and dry. But you see in a situation where everybody must travel home to go and register. Imagine even how much it costs Kenyans. Because you have to travel from here to your rural home to go and register. I think we are getting these things wrong. And that's why I said from the word go, we need quickly to think about a policy framework and a legal framework which will facilitate Kenyans to register in the easiest way possible, and at the same time will facilitate Kenyans to vote without really this big ulbaloo of I have to travel, I have to do this. And we'll make our politics very cheap. But I can tell you, even as I've fitted here, this 61 billion is not enough. It will go higher. I can tell you for sure.
As of 2022, the cost per voter for Kenya's election was about 2,000 shillings, which is probably one of the most expensive in the world. That figure is set to go up probably to 2,500 by 2027.
Maybe something. You know, sometimes we see a figure and we all jump. But if we cool down a bit, if we look at 2022 elections, what was the cost? Around 45?
45 billion shillings.
45 billion. I told you that 45 billion has left, whether it is valid or not, but it is a bending bill, has left a bending bill of 18 billion. So
that's already what, 63 billion?
That's already 63 billion.
Imagine.
So, and I doubt whether you'll have to go to an election without also budgeting your bending bill. So sometimes we can get frightened a bit, but when you look critically, I can tell you maybe the election is just 45 billion plus the bending bill of the last elections, and you get to 63 billion. So
all right, but
one thing that is
the figures there from 2013 to 2027.
One thing that we need to tell,
36 billion shillings in 2013, same election.
One thing that I insist. One thing that I insist. It is unfair to go to the next ball without reviewing our boundaries as per our constitution.
That would even require more money.
Even if it requires more money, let us have the representation.
Unfortunately, the question of going to the next elections without boundary review is a foregone conclusion. The timelines, and even if it was to be done, it can only apply in the 2032 elections. That is what our law statutes say. Okay. So the question of the inequality in the vote, unfortunately, will be a reality in the
very costly election that definitely does not cover all our needs.
Then we introduce weighted.
Okay. Those are legislative issues that probably you propose. Allow us to talk about one more thing just before we take a break, before we come to the end, and that's the health crisis. SHA crisis, no deal to unlock billions after state-private hospital stocks. So RUFA, representing all the private hospitals, rural and urban, proceeded to stop their services, which are linked to SHA. So any patient who's going there has to pay out of pocket. That is a big deal, and it is a matter of life and death. It is part of the stories covered here on TV47 as well. Let's watch it, then comment.
It has been 48 hours since the Rural and Urban Private Hospitals Association, RUFA, suspended the provision of services using the SHA insurance scheme following accrued NHIF debt. And today, the Social Health Authority has broken its silence on the matter, saying the government does not owe the facilities 30 billion Kenya shillings as purported.
We wish to clarify that the government does not owe RUFA the Kenya shillings 30 billion as asserted. RUFA facilities will receive training on claim management and to improve accuracy of claim submission.
The authority says it has continued to reimburse healthcare providers on a monthly basis, with 5.1 billion Kenya shillings disbursed this week to cater for the Social Health Insurance Fund. This, as an additional 1.3 billion Kenya shillings has been disbursed to the primary healthcare facilities.
Facilities that have signed contracts and received share payments should continue serving our members, while the NHIF debt resolution process is ongoing.
In a bid to curb the perennial issue of fraudulent claims, the Social Health Authority is planning to train healthcare workers on the new primary healthcare reimbursement model from Thursday, the 27th of February.
Payments will be based on actual data from the new NHIF system. This will be actual data based on patient visits to the facility.
And although SHA says the NHIF pending claim reconciliations is 60% complete, RUFA and the Kenya Association for Private Facilities CAF maintain the services remain suspended until all the debts are cleared. As the push and pull between RUFA and the Social Health Authority intensifies, patients continue to feel the pinch of the collapsing health sector.
Hawakuwa wanatibu watu, walikuwa wana collect money from the people.
During his coastal tour in Kwale County, President William Ruto has urged Kenyans to register for the Social Health Authority, which he says is committed to ensuring equitable and affordable access to medical care. Elizabeth Atieno, TV47, Nairobi.
Bwana Mathenge, you sit in the Health Committee of Parliament. Isn't it time that this matter now is taken over by your committee?
Yes, you're right, Edimoli, and we have picked the matter, and yesterday we did present a report in Parliament as the Health Committee in as far as what is happening with the rollout of social health insurance. And there are two elements to this. First, there is the recipient side, patients who are receiving services. And there is the facilities that are offering services. As at this point in time, the patient side, in terms of registration in Social Health Authority, is performing very well. But there is a lot of apathy in terms of committing by making payments once patients have been assessed for their annual contribution. And the use of the means testing as the tool for measuring how much each registered member is supposed to pay is acting as a deterrent and contributing to the apathy Kenyans are having towards being subjected to the means testing. Number one, means testing became contaminated when it was used in the education sector. It had not been demystified, and now it has been introduced in the health sector. And therefore, the ordinary people are saying, I have a child who was in a university, and when we were subjected to means testing, our university, the computation placed that in a band that was way above our means of income. So there is a big disconnect, and there is total apathy. And we had better recognize that apathy and come out with ways of sorting it out. Of course, there is a question of the review of the means testing, but the review is not sufficient. The review has to be explained clearly to the ordinary people so that they own it. If they do not own it, we will be back in the same place. The second issue, in our African context, can means testing be done on a computer? And I'll give you this example. I have an elderly lady known as Mama Waziri in Doringo Muslim village. From when I was a young man, she lived in a brick house because her husband was alive then. For 25 years, she has been a widow in the same house. For 25 years, she has had a TV. But every time we distribute relief food, she is always number one in the list of the chief Ruringo for receiving relief food. But when she goes to field means testing, unless we want Mama Waziri to lie, when she's filling in the data on the nature of her house.
It's a brick house.
It's a brick house. It has electricity. She's connected to Nyawasko water, but it is well-wishers who pay for her bills.
Okay.
So that's number one. Number two.
Because of time, I want us to go a bit.
Just allow me to bring this one item. The facilities that are offering services are owed money, not only by NHIF, but also by SHA. Nyeri County today is owed by SHA, not NHIF. Nyeri County, level 4 and level 5 hospitals are owed 130 million. How can the county offer services with that kind of backlog? Lastly, an organization that is managing the medical scheme for police officers and teachers, an organization known as MAKL. That insurance management firm is also owing the same facilities a substantial amount of money, yet it is a private sector enterprise.
This is 4 months since the rollout of SHA.
Yes.
If it was going to work, it would have worked by now, Bwana Makalibu.
You know what happened, Fred, when we were in Naivasha, looking at our performance for the last 2 years, as members of parliament, and we do represent people, we did agree that there are lots of issues with SHA. And one of the issues has come out, and we all agree, is that there has been a mismanagement of the transition stage. Moving from NHIF to SHA, that process, the transition process has been mismanaged. And that's why we have so many problems. We have problems with the registration issues. We have problems with the meeting the bills which were carried over from NHIF to SHA. We have challenges with the information being not shared. And I want to thank our Committee on Health, because yesterday they did present a very detailed report on the floor of the House in terms of what is happening. And we've said many times, if we think it is, as you said, 4 months now after rollover, and things are not working, would we be demanding too much? We said, why can't we just step back and ask ourselves, where did the rain start beating us? And start at that point and swallow our pride. You know, the challenge is some leaders think that if we were to review this thing backwards, it will look like it has failed. I don't think that's the way to do it. The way to do it is, can we say, what lessons have we learned for the last 4 months? And informed by those lessons learned, then improve this position. Actually, some Kenyans have even been radical where they have said, why don't we just forget about SHA and revert to NHIF? Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, we've changed the law, so it means you have to go again and now revise the law again. But for me, I think if something is not working, and Kenyans are saying it is not working, we don't have to push it through their throats.
Yes.
So that it works.
We saw the speed with which members of parliament passed that law. Yes, the president was very keen to ensure this. But yes, to be seen as a legacy of President William Ruto, if at all SHA fails, as it has failed so far for 4 months, that would be more painful than what we are seeing right now.
Fred, I want to tell you categorically, SHA will work.
When? That's a problem. This is 4 months later.
You know what happens is, as Makale Mulu said, we had problems in NHIF. And the problem in NHIF, it had been taken over by cartels within the private hospitals. And bills were being manufactured left, right, and center. So it's like removing that pipe that is feeding from the private is not very easy. One thing that I can assure you from where I'm sitting, at least for public hospitals, SHA is working. And I've seen it.
You just said that Nyeri County is owed a lot of money. Those are public hospitals.
Don't worry, they'll be paid. So
it is a matter of life and death. No, if they're not getting the money,
I want to explain something that we are missing. So the challenges that were there, especially with the private hospitals and NHIF, they were rosy. And now SHA came in to dismantle and be factual. So as we are doing that transition, because we transition from NHIF to SHA, first of all, there is the apathy within the employees that of NHIF that went to SHA. They are not sure of themselves where they will be next. So there is that slowness in terms of service delivery. There is another component that we are supposed for the chronic illnesses. You know, if you look at the act very well, there is the component of GOK that is supposed to go to support the chronic illnesses to a tune of around 16 billion. Because of the issues of the finance bill that went through, we weren't able to sort that. But in this supplementary and in the coming budget, we shall inject around 16 billion to support the chronic illnesses that the government will support our
Madenge seems to disagree with that. Because you're saying the budget process that we have right now. I'll give you an opportunity.
No, I'm not finished. Sure. So I'm telling you, these problems you are looking at are both in terms of the cartelism within the industry and also the transitional problems and the teething problems that we are having.
But you're saying the budget-making process will sort out that.
But I can tell you, once everything is supposed to work, the money the government is supposed to inject is injected. These problems of transitions with the private hospitals, all those is ironed out. The issue of costing, because I believe also costings, they are a bit low in terms of how they have costed some services, including ICU services, they are still low. So once all that review, and you cannot get problems when you have not used. So what we have used the SHA for around those months we have been able to use, but I can tell you, give it another 2 or 3 months. All those problems.
This budget making process is what is going to sort out this issue.
Yes.
The department, the Social Health Authority and the ministry have to up their game. As at now, the crisis in SHA, in the health sector, in as far as the rollout of SHA is concerned, is not because of the budget shortfalls. Mm-hmm. As at 2 weeks ago, out of 4.1 billion provided under the primary healthcare fund, SHA had only disbursed 375 million. So already, yes, the pool was not the financial envelope as budgeted for was not provided in full, but the amount provided as at now has not been exhausted. Mm-hmm. When we go to the emergency and chronic care illnesses fund, out of 2 billion provided, 2.1 billion provided, only 21 million had been disbursed. So even if we have the issue of failing to provide the money in the budget at once, the amount provided up to this point in time has not been exhausted. It is the rollout of the system where we are having challenges.
Sure. Not the budget.
The budget
is just one of the items.
It is one of the items, but right now it is not the biggest contributor. But that is only in as far as SHA is concerned. On NHIF, budget. On the NHIF debts, budget is a problem.
All right. Let's end it there this morning. Thank you so much for your contribution. I know, Bwana Kiplagat, you want to continue, but it is a conversation that will definitely continue.
But SHA will work. So
SHA will work.
Yes.
Let's hope it does, because 4 months later, it is a matter of life and death.
I agree with him. SHA has to work. The way it is designed, once it begins to function flawlessly, healthcare in this country will change.
Thank you so much. Duncan Maina Madenge, MP Nyeri Town, David Kiplagat, MP Soi, and Makali Mulu, MP Kitui Central. Our panelists this morning on State of the Nation. Big headlines, of course, that deal, power sharing, secret deal, whatever it is, between President William Ruto and Raila Odinga. 61 billion shillings, the cost of our election. Meanwhile, 30 billion shillings owed to private hospitals is not available, meaning that people could die for lack of health services. That is what we're looking at this morning. After the break, a conversation about drug abuse in our universities. Do stand by for that. My name is Fred Indumuli. Good morning.